welcome back to this special edition of News 12's Newsmakers Vote 2012. I'm Tim Cassidy. During this hour, you've been meeting some of your local candidates who are running for office. In a moment, you will be hearing from the two candidates running in the state Senate race for District 40. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at what that district includes. It includes parts of Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester counties. It includes the towns of Beekman, Pauling, Patterson, Southeast, Carmel, and most of northern Westchester County. So let's go ahead and meet the candidates. We want to introduce you to them right now, the two candidates who are vying for that spot. First, we welcome the incumbent, Greg Ball. Senator Ball is a Republican who is also running on the Conservative Party line and the Independence Party line. Mr. Ball was elected as senator in the fall of 2010. He is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans, Homeland Security, and Military Affairs. He currently resides in Patterson. Senator Ball, welcome to the show.
How are you?
All right, and we'd also like to welcome Justin Wagner. Mr. Wagner is running for the 40th State Senate seat on the Democratic, Green, and Working Families Party lines. Mr. Wagner says he is running for the state Senate because he believes the region needs principled leadership that is focused on job creation and reforming Albany. Mr. Wagner grew up in LaGrange, a town just outside of Poughkeepsie, but right now you live in Croton.
In Croton-on-Hudson.
All right, welcome to you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about this race. We're getting to Election Day quick. Senator Ball, why do you want to head back to Albany?
Well, I don't, Albany and I haven't always had the best relationship. But look, I mean, a lot of politicians that time of year, a lot of politicians are making all sorts of promises. Talk is cheap. I have something called a track record, and working in a bipartisan way with this governor, we've accomplished a lot. We all know that New York State is not going to get out of this hole overnight. We didn't get into this hole overnight. It was a bunch of bad decisions by previous legislatures and previous governors. This governor's doing a very good job, but he also has a partner in our majority. And maintaining that checks and balance is extremely important. We capped property taxes. That saved $35 million locally. We capped Medicaid savings. That's going to save millions of dollars. Pension reform, $80 billion in savings. A real middle-class tax cut, not just smoke and mirrors, not reading my own press releases and making stuff up. This is real stuff. Cut the middle-class tax rate to the lowest point in 3 generations. 2 balanced budgets. And you got to remember, I mean, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the previous majority from New York City would use that Senate chamber for a clown show of the week. Hide the keys, not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, shut off the lights. Thank God this governor has had a working partner in our Republican majority. And regardless of the politics of this race or the personalities, we've got to make sure that this governor has that partner in that majority. And there's a lot more that still needs to be done. We saw the report that came out. New York State is still way, way behind in the pack with our overall tax environment. So some measured steps in the right direction, but we need to keep this partnership going to get New York State to be that great empire state once again for working families that are just getting killed.
All right, Senator Ball, thank you. Mr. Wagner, obviously looking to head to Albany. Tell us a little bit about why you would like to do this.
Sure. I think the primary focus needs to be on rebuilding our middle class and restoring integrity in terms of our state government. For me, I think this race is a simple choice. The choice between common sense solutions and what I view as political extremism. Throughout this campaign, I've put forward a number of proposals on mandate relief, raising the minimum wage, getting people back to work with infrastructure investments, campaign finance reforms, things that I think are really rooted in Hudson Valley common sense. Senator Ball, I like Senator Ball personally. I think he's a good guy.
Thank you, man.
But when it comes to voting up in Albany, his record is one of political extremes. And take my word for it. The Conservative Party of New York, not exactly a liberal bastion, ranked all the voting records of the senators up in Albany. Senator Ball had the #1 most right-wing conservative voting record in 2011, his first session in Albany. I think that's out of the mainstream of the Hudson Valley. I'm putting forward ideas that I think are common sense, so modernizing our power grid, increasing the minimum wage. I think it's a better fit with the district, and I think it's a better fit with Governor Cuomo. Senator Ball mentioned the governor 3 or 4 times here, 3 or 4 times in his ads on TV. Senator Ball is standing in the way of important initiatives for the governor. Marriage equality was a historic achievement here in New York. Senator Ball voted no.
Did that pass?
On health care exchanges, Senator Ball was the lead opponent of Governor Cuomo's health care exchanges, on campaign finance reform, on modernizing our power grid. The senator is standing against...
Justin,
you got to let me finish.
I really don't.
You got to let me finish.
Entitled to your own opinion.
The senator is standing directly against the governor's record. And you may not like to hear the facts, but those are the facts. And those are 4 or 5 key issues that you've opposed the governor on. Okay. And I just think it's out of step with the region.
Senator, let's have you respond to some of these accusations.
So it's very interesting because, we have a record of accomplishment. And I know that you've got to be getting desperate because you got 3 weeks to go. You're a corporate attorney. You're spending a lot of time on the campaign trail. I mean, geez, you've been doing this for about 13 months, and still in the polls, nobody knows who you are. So the only way you can win this thing is by trying to drag me down and make me look bad. You know what? I don't know if you're running against Assemblyman Ball, but I'm Senator Ball. And I've delivered for this district. Millions of dollars to schools. I've passed a property tax cap, repealed the MTA payroll tax. When I was fighting to repeal the MTA payroll tax, you were representing big polluters and terrorists and all sorts of people at your law firm down in the city. The point is that I've been fighting for these things now, going door to door, getting to know this community. And for you to come in the last 3 weeks of a campaign and distort my record is ridiculous. You don't.
Are any of those issues I mentioned, were they not true?
Let's just go through this. Number one,
marriage.
When we're talking about, we all know how I voted on marriage equality. It passed. Next issue, how about jobs and taxes, my man?
How about campaign finance?
Jobs and people in this district are hurting. Okay, they're losing their homes. They can't pay the property taxes. When this governor has needed a partner to take care of the blue-collar people in this district, whether it be 50,000 jobs with the Tappan Zee Bridge, whether it be a property tax cap to keep seniors and working families in their home, he has had me. You don't always agree. This is politics, man. I mean, this is serious stuff. You don't have to agree with somebody 100% of the time, but it doesn't mean that you don't work together and reach across the aisle. The difference is that by NYPIRG, not my press releases, I know you're starting to believe your own press releases, which is a fatal flaw of any candidate. By NYPIRG, Public Interest Group, they rate my voting record as the most independent voting record in the Senate. I have voted with my leadership less than a lot of Democrats. And that bipartisanship, whether it be on domestic violence, whether it be on my proposal to increase minimum wage, but cut taxes for small business owners at the same time, stepping up to outsourcers. I have not accepted money from outsourcers. I was the only Republican to actually stand up to IBM when they were taking millions and millions and millions of dollars, at the same time offshoring our jobs. And now the mail that you're sending out is trying to distort my record on every single front. I have the most independent voting record. I have the labor unions supporting me, like the utility workers. I was the only Republican in the state to go down there even before the governor, and I thank the governor for his leadership. But don't you think it meant something for a majority member of the New York State Senate, who's a Republican, to go down and stand with 8,500 families that were locked out?
I was there a week before you. I was there a week before you.
Mr. Wagner, let's talk about, he's talking about some of the mailings that you've sent out.
Sure.
You're trying to get a point out. What point are you trying to make with some of the mailings, and what's your thought?
Well, let's just back this up. In April of this year, Senator Ball set up under his own name, and it's been reported by the Journal News, an attack website going after me and my record. So this is way back to a couple weeks ago. The senator has been sending emails under fake email addresses. I believe the Westchester District Attorney is even investigating this. The campaign tactics of my opponent are so outrageous that last week he told me at a debate, the Poughkeepsie Journal debate, he was against increasing the minimum wage. But the following week he comes out, flips his position. But his campaign rhetoric is so far behind that he still has a website up attacking me. You gotta let me finish. He still has a website up attacking me for now having the same position he's flip-flopped on. There's Albany Greg Ball, and then there's Campaign Greg Ball. Campaign Greg Ball is a centrist who loves Governor Cuomo. Albany Greg Ball is the biggest extremist in the state Senate. I ticked off the issues before. And on the governor, let me just make this point. Everyone knows Senator Ball likes to take photographers with him to these events. That's fantastic. You can get those pictures on Facebook, on his website. Our campaign staff searched hard and long. And the one picture they couldn't find was a picture of you with the governor. Because the fact is, this working relationship with you and the governor, it's a figment of your imagination.
Okay, well,
you don't work with the governor. You do not have a working relationship with him.
A couple things. Number one.
When's the last time the governor called you?
Another thing. Okay.
When's the last time?
Justin, you may be an attorney. I'm the senator.
You don't want to
answer? Respond to the first question. Okay. Number one. Is it a figment of my imagination that I was appointed by the governor to the Governor's Spending and Government Efficiency Commission and had numerous meetings not only with him but with the staff? Is it a figment of my imagination, Justin, that I'm working with the governor's staff on P3 legislation, public-private partnership legislation, to create 50,000 jobs? Is it a figment of my imagination, Justin, that he just signed my bill to protect veterans in the state of New York and a ton of other bills, including one that I work with Amy Paulin on, to actually extend the time for victims of domestic violence? You have gotten so far off track. You're so focused on attacking me.
Well, you have a record. You said you wanted to talk about your record.
Now, on the minimum wage, let's just talk about this. You toe the party line, which is fine, which is what you do. You would go and sit with those New York City Democrats who increased taxes by $14 billion. They passed the MTA payroll tax. You'd go cozy with them and play golf. What I have suggested...
I don't play golf.
Let me finish.
Just saying it.
Okay? What you have suggested is just to simply increase the minimum wage at a time where we're hemorrhaging jobs and where small business owners are shutting their doors. I'm sure when you're out in the district, if you look at the vacant commercial space, you see that this district is really, really hurting. What I have said instead is a bipartisan solution that the governor would be able to support. Let's actually increase the minimum wage, take care of the employees, but contemporaneously at the exact same time, cut the tax rate for small business owners by 20%, cut the personal income tax rate, which a lot of small business owners actually pay under the personal income tax rate, cut that by 10%, and the fight that I've been doing for a long time, which you tried to distort, is to fully repeal that MTA payroll tax. That's a bipartisan, comprehensive solution. It may be inconvenient to you. You probably wish you're a smart guy, right? You probably wish you came up with the idea first. You're a highly paid campaign staff. They didn't. I did. And it's a statewide solution that, honestly, I believe in a special session we're going to be able to get done. That's leadership, man.
Mr. Wagner, I want you to talk a little bit about, obviously, jobs and minimum wage. I mean, what's your stance on this? And if you were elected to go to Albany, what would you do about creating job creation and minimum wage?
The senator was talking about is a fantastic plan, the idea of coupling small businesses and a minimum wage. It was my proposal months ago. I stood in front of the shipping center in Brewster and talked about a package of tax cuts and incentives for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We want New York to be the capital region where people want to come and start a business. But that's different than raising the minimum wage. We need to raise the minimum wage not just to pair with business tax cuts, but because it's the right thing to do for working men and women. Someone working at $7.25 an hour. I hear all these politicians wax poetic about personal responsibility. People got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. That's what people working at $7.25 an hour are doing. And as a government, Governor Cuomo has come out for an increase in the minimum wage, not coupled with anything else. He is for an increase in the minimum wage. This is another example of where I am with the governor, the senator isn't. On jobs, infrastructure, look at the bottom, at the core, the biggest thing the state can do in terms of getting people back to work is rebuilding our crumbling bridges, our roads, our schools. The Tappan Zee project is an important one. The senator mentioned the P3 legislation. That might be a piece, but I think we need to build that Tappan Zee project starting tomorrow. Could put thousands of people back to work in Westchester. And I think a senator from this region needs to be an advocate for that project.
And Senator, he brought up Tappan Zee Bridge. Talk about that. I mean, as far as we know, Tappan Zee Bridge is on schedule.
Just really quick, okay? Back on this really shows, and I know that it's got to be a heck of a learning curve. And certainly, I was able to hit the ground running as a senator because I served those 4 years in the assembly. And when he talks about minimum wage being a standalone bill, it's not going to pass as a standalone bill. By having a minimum wage increase paired with these tax cuts for small businesses, we can actually get something done. Not only that, if you really want to cut taxes on small businesses, and we were just ranked 50th in the nation in hostile environment to small businesses, if you want to get it done, you got to pair it with the minimum wage. And that's just a lack of understanding on your part. When it comes to Tappan Zee Bridge, I think it's been clearly reported. We cannot continue to rely upon debt-based financing. We live in the capital of capital. Justin works down there. I live in a small cabin in Patterson, and I'm a full-time state senator. I promised the people I would do that. I term limited myself, support term limits. We live in the capital of capital. Right now, the pension funds in the state of New York, so people who work for a living, their backs are tired, their pension funds are investing in bridges and roads in other states like Ohio, Illinois, because they cannot invest in our public infrastructure policy. College endowments, the same thing. Public-private partnership legislation, I don't even know if you knew what P3 was before we started doing the hearings over the past month. P3 legislation, public-private partnership, will allow us to finance this project. Transit ready. Everybody talks about this bridge being transit ready.
Right.
The George Washington Bridge was built to be transit ready. What was that? 60 plus?
The lower level, right?
Yep. Right. Well, that never happened.
Right.
This bridge is too big to get wrong. This good governor has done a great job of expediting the process to move it forward. We're in the design build phase, which is another thing that we passed in the Senate, which we pushed for, including TIP financing, which allowed it to be expedited in partnership with the governor. But the transit portion of this bridge, financing's not there, and we don't have the money to do it at the government level. Right. Let's maintain public control, give the governor the tool that he's requested, and if we maintain a Republican majority, we can give that governor what he needs.
All right, we're running out of time. 30 seconds, Mr. Wagner, why should people vote for you?
Sure. Well, one thing we didn't talk about today, I just want to use that time for that, is that they need to clean up our campaign finance laws. I am passionate that I actually think the issue of Greg and I's generation is taking big money out of politics. we have to pass comprehensive campaign finance reform here in New York. I will do it. The governor said he wants to do it, and I'll be a leader on that in the Hudson Valley.
All right, Senator Ball, 10 seconds.
Okay, so on campaign finance reform, you can't say you're for campaign finance reform and accept $50,000 from a large multinational corporation that represents frackers and big insurance. Nobody has to tell me about reforming Albany. I took on a state senator. He's in federal prison in Pennsylvania. But what I wouldn't do is take $500 million of taxpayer dollars and spend it on campaigns like he wants to do. I would use it to fully repeal the MTA payroll tax.
Senator Ball, Mr. Wagner, best of luck to you both on Election Day. We appreciate it. More news coming your way in 2 minutes. Stay with us, everyone.
Closed captioning on News 12 is brought to you by